What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are checking out the top 10 most powerful militaries in 2020. So let's see what this is all about. But 2020 is a bit far back, but let's see what they have. And if you guys enjoy, we'll do a 2022 updated version. So without further ado, don't forget, guys, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get straight into it. See what we got.
It was twice in 40 years when Europe became a flashpoint and the entire world went to war. In both World War I and World War II, the majority of the world's armies picked a side and pitted superpower against superpower. In the aftermath of the carnage, the world determined that this must never happen again, and military conflicts since then have been much smaller scale, mostly pitting one country against each other in localized conflicts. But what if it happened again? If another world war broke out, it would be happening on a very different playing field than the early 20th century. Countries that were powerhouses have scaled back their armies, and bit players and neutral powers in the world wars have become massive military players. In today's world, who would be in the countries that could tilt the balance of a massive global conflict? Who are the top 10 most powerful militaries in 2020? Number 10. Brazil. Brazil isn't where you'd think to look for a military powerhouse, as South America is not typically the site of major military conflicts. But Brazil is the 6th largest country by population in the world, and the fast-growing and diverse nation is home to the Amazon rainforest, one of the world's most unique biospheres. This means that they need a good military to manage a complex set of affairs and to fend off any criminal elements or foreign invaders looking to profit off their unique resources. With an army, navy, and air force, their armed forces are the second largest in the Americas and have over 334,000 active duty members. But what's the secret to Brazil's recruitment efforts? They don't have to recruit. Brazil is one of several countries on this list with conscription, and every 18 to 45-year-old male in the country has to do 10 to 12 months of national service. That means they have over 1.3 million reserve members, because discharged conscripts who underwent the training can be called up to defend the country in a crisis. But Brazil's military has one of the more eclectic missions of any country on this list, frequently being deployed to handle civic action programs like construction. They're also sent abroad on peacekeeping and humanitarian missions and to protect the Amazon rainforest from hazards. Brazil's military is growing fast, but not quite as fast as the next country on the list. Number 9. Egypt. Egypt has always been one of the most powerful and
I've never heard anything about Egypt.
modern countries in the Middle East, but their military didn't always have the best record. They were involved in 4 wars against the new nation of Israel from the 1940s to the 1970s and lost all 4. But a 1978 peace treaty turned that page, and since then Egypt has made the most of their military strength. With a state military organization under the command of the president, who has been a military dictator for most of the last few decades, they have 4 divisions ready for combat. An army, navy, and air force are joined by a special air defense forces designed to protect Egypt from air-based attacks. As the only Arab state with a reconnaissance satellite, they're considered to have a state-of-the-art military ready to repel any sneak attacks. With a standing military of 468,000 and over 500,000 reserves, Egypt maintains a 1 to 3 year conscription term for all men 18 to 49. They're not hurting for manpower, but their biggest advantage is their good diplomatic relations with the rest of the world. They used to rely on outdated Soviet weaponry from their Cold War alliance, but now they get the best hardware through deals with the US, the United Kingdom, and China, and they need it. The Middle East is a flashpoint, and the Egyptian military has been key in hunting down and ending the threat of groups like ISIS. Egypt's army is rising fast, but the next military on this list is one of the oldest and still going strong. Number 8. United Kingdom. Rule Britannia. The United Kingdom is no stranger to a strong military, as they ruled much of the world at the height of the British Empire. Sure, there was that unfortunate business with the colonies, but the British Armed Forces came out on top in both world wars, and the military that's been going strong since 1707 is advancing with the times. Composed of the Royal Navy, the British Army, the Royal Marines, and the Royal Air Force, the British Armed Forces have about 150,000 active duty members and 45,000 reserve members. One of the smallest militaries on the list, but the United Kingdom is an entirely volunteer force. Their focus is on elite soldiers, not massive manpower, and it's not hard to see why when you see their hardware. A founding member of the NATO military alliance, the British Armed Forces are on guard to step in should any member be invaded. With military bases around the world, their navy has 77 commissioned ships, including destroyers and frigates. And while the British Armed Forces are mainly a defensive force now, they're ready for another massive conflict, including a nuclear one. Trident, the UK's nuclear defense system, has an arsenal of 120 usable warheads that can be launched either from bases or from ships. The British Armed Forces aren't the world's most powerful anymore, but the island nation is still well guarded. But they may just be looking enviously right across the English Channel. Number 7. France. Wait, France? Yeah, the country known for fine wine and art museums may not be first on everyone's mind as a military powerhouse, but they actually have the largest armed forces in the European Union, with 203,000 active duty members. This all-volunteer military is divided into 5 divisions: the French Army, French Navy, French Air Force, National Guard, and the National Gendarmerie, a national police force. All answer to the President of France, and there are currently 11,000 French military personnel deployed worldwide. A charter member of NATO, the French military is focused on national independence and self-sufficiency in the post-Cold War era, but that doesn't mean its military arsenal is to be trifled with. One of the 5 nuclear weapon states under the initial Non-Proliferation Treaty, France has had nuclear weapons since the 1950s, believed to have up to 300 nuclear warheads with 280 in usable condition.
Oh wow, that is crazy.
The French military focuses its nuclear arsenal on deterrence. The country rarely gets into military skirmishes independently, but has helped allies in Europe and beyond in military operations. After the brutal occupation of France by Nazi Germany during World War II, France has followed the advice of an American president. It speaks softly and carries a big nuclear stick to deter future invasions. But the next country on the list is no stranger to occupation and invasion either, and it's always on a war footing. Number 6. South Korea. When's the last time you traveled to another
Oh, South Korea must be huge.
state or city? Imagine if the distance of that drive would take you not to a nice day trip, but to a hostile enemy nation. That's the situation South Korea has lived in for decades, ever since the Korean War ended, with the constant threat of attack or invasion from North Korea lurking over their head. It's not a surprise they have one of the largest armed forces in the world, almost 600,000 active duty soldiers and 3 million reserve members. As a country that has to be on a war footing at
That is a big number.
all times, it's no surprise that South Korea has universal conscription for all male citizens, with everyone doing 18 to 22 months of service. With an Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps under the command of a Joint Chief of Staff, South Korea spends 2.7% of their GDP on military spending. Despite a nuclear threat from their neighbors to the north, South Korea has a strict policy of non-proliferation and has not developed nuclear weapons, but that doesn't mean their military isn't to be feared. Thanks to a strong alliance with Japan, Israel, and the United States, they have one of the most technologically advanced militaries, and their anti-missile technology is state-of-the-art.
Oh, wow.
South Korea is a large army focused on one constant threat, but their military is deployed in 13 countries around the world. The next country's military might have a dark history, but today's army looks very different. Number 5. Japan. The newest military on this list, the Japan Self-Defense Forces, were formed in the aftermath of World War II, when Japan was defeated along with the rest of the Axis powers. Their military was disbanded. In 1954, they were allowed to found a new armed forces based around self-defense and peacekeeping. Despite being one of the smallest armed forces on the list at only 300,000 active personnel, their strength isn't in numbers. They're open to all residents 18 to 32 for voluntary enlistment. But the reason they're a top military power is because of their elite technology. Divided between ground, maritime, and air units, all are among the most state-of-the-art forces in the world. Japan's thriving technology sector specializes in anti-ballistic missile deployment, amphibious technology to make it easier for soldiers to function in the water, and an unarmed combat training system that makes every soldier an elite fighter even when disarmed. Their technology and training make Japan a highly sought-after ally, and they have tight military links to South Korea and the United States. The growing threat of North Korea has made some hawkish elements in Japan say the country,
like literally in a few years, everything I believe will be technology, like wars even, bro.
should move toward a more aggressive stance. But right now, the Japan Self-Defense Forces are a powerhouse military content to stay put, only aiding in peacekeeping missions. Japan is a small island nation, but the next militaries on this list are protecting
One false move, Japan, and they may throw this in your face.
some of the biggest countries in the world. Number 4. India.
India.
One of the fastest growing countries in the world, India is second in population and is wasting no time joining the world's military elites. They're in a tricky military position, with border conflicts aplenty, mostly with longtime rival Pakistan, which was partitioned from them in the 1940s when they gained independence. But in recent years, China has also made aggressive moves on Indian border areas. So it's no surprise India's standing army is large and strong. With 1.4 million active duty personnel and over 2 million reserves, it's one of the largest non-conscripted militaries in the world, and their military budget is the third largest in the world. The Indian military is diversified, with a traditional army, navy, and military, but it also encompasses multiple paramilitary divisions, including a coast guard and specialized forces handling border and railway security. Their navy has a fully equipped aircraft carrier and a fleet of submarines, but the country's biggest leap forward came when they officially joined the nuclear weapons club.
Wow, look
Both
at those
India
nuclear weapons, bro. That is insane.
and Pakistan are believed to have over 150 nuclear weapons, keeping each other at bay long term. But India's nuclear deterrent may be aimed at another neighbor as well. Number 3. China.
China.
No
I knew this would be on the list.
country's
I knew
army
it.
is growing faster and making more aggressive moves than the People's Liberation Army of China. Divided into the ground force, navy, air force, rocket force, and strategic support force, it's the biggest active duty military force in the world, with over 2 million active members and 500,000 reserves. And in case the
Shit,
world's
bro.
most populated country needs more soldiers in a hurry, their universal conscription law has been in effect since the days of Mao Zedong. But it hasn't been enforced in decades. The army of the People's Republic of China is shrouded in secrecy, but their biggest weapon isn't their manpower, it's their strategic warfare. China has gained a reputation for
course.
being the most aggressive military for cyber warfare,
Oh,
as a
shit.
well-placed hacking attack can easily destabilize a country or reveal its biggest secrets. They officially founded a cybersecurity squad
Oh,
in
well, that's something new we haven't heard.
2011.
Okay.
Their satellites are among the most advanced in the world, making them a major power as the race to space becomes the next military frontier. While most of China's military conflicts in recent years have been border skirmishes, they're well equipped for a larger conflict, with over 240 nuclear warheads in usable shape. China might be rising, but while the next country's biggest days are behind it, it shouldn't be underestimated. Number 2. Russia. At the
Russia,
height
of
of the Cold
course.
War, Russia
Of
and the
course.
United States were constantly boosting their military and weapons to try to keep pace with each other. While that conflict has been on the back burner for a long time, Russia remains one of the biggest military powers in the world, with 900,000 active duty military personnel and 2 million reserves. It's still
Shit.
one of the largest standing militaries, primarily due to their strict conscription law, which requires every Russian male aged 18 to 27 to serve 12 months in the services. At
Oh.
3.9% of their GDP, Russia also has one of the largest per capita spending of any country, and it shows in their massive arsenal. During the Cold War, Russia and the US kept each other at bay with mutually assured destruction, having such a powerful arsenal of nuclear weapons that neither side could survive all-out war. Those weapons were never used, and Russia now has over 6,000 nuclear weapons, although
Oh.
over 2,500 of them are no longer usable. Their ground forces,
That's
aerospace
crazy.
forces, and navy are backed up by multiple special and logistical divisions. And while Russia's technology and weapons might trend older, it hasn't stopped them from aggressive moves in Eastern Europe, like the recent annexation of Crimea. But there's one military they've never been able to catch. Number 1.
USA. I was just going to say that USA is the next one.
United States of America. The Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the Coast
Oh, so
Guard,
USA
and
number
we can't
one on the
forget
list.
the newest division, Space Force. They come together in the United States Armed Forces, a powerhouse military with 1.3 million
that
active
personnel.
members and almost 900,000 reserve members. While the
Shit.
United States has had a draft during many major wars, they're an all-volunteer force now. Although it's required for all men aged 18 to 25 to register for selective service in case conscription is needed. The USA may not have the biggest army in the world, but their spending of $721 billion annually puts them at number 1, and it shows in a massive technologically advanced military that's deployed around the world. Every division of the US military is the largest of its kind in the world, and the country has 170,000 soldiers deployed worldwide in peacetime. Stationed in over 100 countries, the military is presided over by the Joint Chiefs of Staff under the command of the Commander-in-Chief, the President. While the US is modernizing its military by the year and shares technology with close allies like Japan, South Korea, and Israel, a big part of its power is from the Cold War. Its nuclear arsenal is over 6,000 warheads, although more than a third are retired and awaiting dismantlement. The United States played a big role in both world wars, and it hasn't surrendered its superpower status since. What would happen if the world's two biggest militaries went head-to-head? Check out United States.
Wow, that was a brilliant video. Really learned quite a bit of every country now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. That was insane. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about it. And let me know what other videos you guys would like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and like this video, go ahead and do that. It truly helps out and with the YouTube algorithm. And we'll be seeing you on the next video. Peace out.